Oh, welcome to the Two Big Guys radio talk show between country music artist Glenn Cummings and Pastor Kenneth Farnsworth. Cutting Edge Radio. Hello, everybody out there today. How's everyone doing? This is Glenn Cummings with Mr. Pastor Kenneth Farnsworth, and we are doing our 1-year anniversary of our show, and we are so happy that we've been able to touch a lot of people's lives out there. A lot of people have listened to our show and have sent us emails and confirmations of a lot of the things that we've discussed, making changes in their lives, and that's fantastic. I mean, it's pretty exciting that we just did this together as good friends, and we thought that the kind of the dynamics of just a simple dad, a believer in God, a believer in Christ, but still learning. I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of things that of a pastor, and a lot of the questions that I've had, a lot of people are afraid to talk to a pastor. They're afraid to ask those difficult questions. And that's why we thought this would be kind of a nice dynamic, Pastor. And so far, a lot of the questions I've asked you are a lot of the questions a lot of other people out there would love to ask a pastor. And hearing, from you, your experience. You've been a pastor for a number of years, and you've witnessed to thousands of people. And this is just another way of getting the word out there to people, and hopefully changing their lives and helping teach them a little bit more about the Bible and stuff like that. So it's been great.
Right. Yeah, we on Reformation last year we did our very first show, and we've done about 14 to 16 since then. We got a little new format too, where I'm doing interviews on the side, and we got more of those coming. But it's been a great year. We've done some cutting edge stuff. We've messed around. We've had fun.
Oh, we always have fun. That's
I wonder if you remember this.
Okay.
I want you, Big Guy 2. Big Guy 2 from now on. I mean, he already changed all that. He changed all that.
Pastor, you weren't here last week.
All right.
We had Pastor Yoakum here last week.
Oh, was he Big Guy 3?
No. We found a solution to Glenn's delusion.
There we go.
Oh, I remember that
being
one.
Big Guy 1.
Oh, and okay.
And this is strictly
a solution to the delusion.
Yes, solution to the delusion. This is strictly pacifying his delusion.
There we go.
So it's just a psychological thing I'm doing with him. Big Guy number 1.
Right.
Pastor Big number 1. And then.
Yeah, Glenn, I had put this real cool montage together today, and I've been doing these in Big Guy Studio number 2. I've been doing this recording, and I have not mastered it yet, but
apparently he's got an iPad, everyone, that has this little tiny microphone that he just squeezed up to the microphone.
No, that's not what I record on.
Usually in recording studios, they'll have everything nice and set aside. They'll have it all pre-recorded in an MP3 format, something like that. But he just wants to.
I have an MP3 format, but a lot of it didn't record, and then I recorded it again, and nothing happened. I have a little more of some of our old shows, but. The one I did this morning was great. The second one I did, and it had our joking around and everything else, and we had the serious shows that we did too. But let me just play the rest of what did record for you to bring back some of those memories of this past year.
Okay.
What should we expect? We'll talk about those two things. I picked that text out because I think it's appropriate for Christmas because, of course, let's ask Glenn because he's the country music singer.
Of course.
This is a test of intelligence.
Mr. Big One, yeah.
Who was the child of these two, of Elizabeth and Zachariah?
It was me. I mean, when I was born, I had a number 1 stamped on my forehead, and I've been here ever since, and that's why I'm number 1, Mr. Big, and, right?
Yeah. You see how he diverts things when he doesn't know the answers? Yeah.
Let me jump in here for a little bit. And,
This is Pastor
in
Yoakum.
bathroom terms, no one wants to be called either number 1 or number 2.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He set us straight, didn't he?
Yeah, he just did.
Yeah.
Bathroom humor all the way.
We got dissed by the guest.
Yes, I know. Well, somebody needs to put us in our place. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to have somebody here that, if somebody has a paddle just to paddle us, we'd be kept in line here.
Yeah, I think we.
She grows.
So now your montage goes right into my song. How did that work?
Oh, this is from that show we did on preparing our kids for higher education, Going, Growing, Gone, which I figured picked it up very good. Great song. A little bit after this, you talk about your children.
Sorry, folks, the sound quality is on a little iPod that he has plugged into.
iPad.
I'm sorry, iPad that he's put in right up to the microphone. But hopefully you're out there, you're getting the, oh, there we go.
The expense of it is just absurd. I mean, a couple of the colleges we looked at, they're 30 to 50,000 a year. And it's like, oh my gosh, we need some scholarships, we need some assistance, and unfortunately, it's expensive, but Lexi, my oldest daughter, as well as my youngest daughter, Savannah, they are singers. They love to sing too, and fortunately, they've been blessed with the ability to do it, and they love music. And I haven't pushed them or been a stage dad or anything like that, trying to make them go after their dream. They really want to sing, and welcome to the Two Big Guys.
There it is, Guy. A little bit of
All
last
right.
year. And we talked about everything last year. We talked about the Duck Dynasty issue with Phil, and we talked about a lot of different things of the faith. The Little Sisters of the Poor, when they were dealing with their issues, and for this show, Glenn, you threw me a curveball because we were supposed to do this last Friday before your daughter got injured, and Thursday night I
Sprained her finger playing basketball.
Yeah,
She's all right, thank God.
Yeah, you had to go pick her up, take her to the hospital. There,
She did a flying dunk. She has a 74-inch vertical leap. So yeah. I mean, when she was flying to the dunk, she did a spin, and then she landed kind of awkwardly on the rim, and then she kind of hung there and looked down at all the players below her. And
the WNBA had her airlifted to Tampa.
That's
General.
exactly what happened, and they put her on one of those, those things. And she's so tall that she's longer than the actual helicopter, so they had to fly in a military helicopter to,
Yeah. You get any more stories?
No.
Okay. But anyways, that night before, you throw this topic at me just before the guys are coming over to play dominoes. Let's do something on ISIS. And then you go, yeah, this will be easy. I'll just ask the questions. And I got all this research to do, but fortunately, I've had a little more time.
Well, the thing is that kind of like the Phil Robertson situation that we were discussing, topics, things happen so quickly, so fast. They're headlines for about a week. They're all over the media. Everyone's talking about the Phil Robertson, situation. Everyone's talking about the Texas shootings, all these different things. They come at us so fast, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Another subject pops in. And I kind of feel the same way with ISIS. With this ISIS situation, it's horrific. I mean, it is a horrific situation that, a lot of people basically didn't care about ISIS. They didn't care about what they were doing. That's over in Iraq. That's over in Syria. Who cares? Let them deal with the situation until all of a sudden, a couple of our Americans were beheaded, okay? And they put this HD perfect video together that they could put out there to the world. And of course, I haven't watched the video. I just couldn't even imagine my son or daughter losing their life that way. It is the most horrific thing to ever imagine. And recently, 1,500 students were stripped down of their clothes in underwear, basically, all lined up. And all of these ISIS militants are, and you're going to explain this more to me because I still don't know a lot about, their beliefs and things like that. All I hear is 100 different ways it's pronounced on the news and 100 different ways it's explained. So it's kind of confusing to me.
We'll
but,
clear that up.
1,500 students, kids, are lined up in a row and are shot to death. Okay? And, gosh, I mean, I'm kind of tearing up right now. I can't even imagine my kids or my family members, anyone being beheaded, being shot and killed to death for doing nothing, okay, for believing in their religion or not believing in the ISIS religion, whatever the situation
Right.
is, to actually murder and kill these innocent kids and these and our Americans, that are over there, for what purpose? And the only purpose I can see is to create more hate. It's to create more fear. It's to create more power, their own power that they believe in. And the thing about it is that other people that watch these things, now we have this internet that is worldwide, that people that are either disgruntled with the government or they're disgruntled with their lives or they see these videos. I just don't understand how anyone out there would now want to join this group to commit these types of heinous, horrible crimes. And, here's the thing. If, I'm a big guy, I'm 265 pounds, okay? If I walk into a room and there's another guy that's 265 pounds and says, you know what, I'm mad at you, I'm going to take you down, we're gonna have a nice, good old-fashioned brawl out here in the back of the house, okay? I've got a fighting chance, okay? These are kids. I mean, these are kids that don't have guns. They don't have any way to respond. And it's the easiest target on the planet. ISIS has the easiest target. This is horrendous, okay? Same thing with, some of these kids that go into the into the schools. They're at home. They've got their guns all prepared. They've got everything set up. Once they stroll through that school, what do they have? Innocent kids that don't have guns, no way of defending themselves, okay? So these acts of terrorism are really the most cowardly acts, in my opinion, that you can have. The situation with the September 11th, how cowardly can you be to go on a plane and and do what those guys did to take innocent lives? I mean, it is cowardly. It is horrendous. Why do they do it, Pastor? That's what people want to know. What is the ultimate goal? Is it all these virgins they're supposed to get that they believe they get after they die? I mean, why do they believe they're heroes when they die? I mean, a lot of their family members think, my husband's out there doing all these horrible things, and when he dies, that female is not even upset because she thinks that he's done what he's supposed to do to fulfill this religion and to fulfill this deal, this
Right,
fantasy
right.
all these people have, that upon death they're going to go to this better world. I mean, what is this? What is
Right.
going on here?
Well, we can look at ISIS, but we really have to take a step back to the beginnings of Islam.
Okay.
And there's this man, Muhammad, who really started Islam, made peoples Muslims. In fact, a Muslim, what it literally means is one who submits or one who commits himself to Islam. Okay, that's a Muslim. It's a religion of submission to God and interaction with various cultures. Now, you have to understand what was going on at the time of Muhammad. What Muhammad did is he took care of some cultural and economic factors that were going on really in the Arab world that had a lot of different factions in it. They didn't get along a lot. But what Muhammad saw is that he could work together to organize these people to basically build trade routes, to
okay.
get their merchandise spread out, to get everybody richer, to get cultures or subcultures that did not get along together to begin working together to trade, to make money, to sell to other people. And so the economic and cultural factors is first what Muhammad dealt with. Now, the second part of it is how did this religion of Islam come about? How did it create a religion of submission to create Muslims who are in submission to Islam? There isn't any clear story there. There's two different ways that we see. Basically, Muhammad was exposed both to the Old Testament and New Testament. Now, one of the ideas that started Islam, and one of the authors I read in seminary, John Noss and David Noss, writing Man's Religions, disagree with us, and I've seen others that have, is that he married this woman who was a very strong person, and he was having success in bringing the economic and cultural divisions to a higher level, to where these people would work together, they'd make more money. And then he had a dream, and he told that dream to his wife, and his wife was the one who encouraged him to start the Islamic faith. That's one go at it. These two authors that I just mentioned don't agree with that, and I tend to go their way. And basically, they're saying the exposure that Muhammad had to both Old and New Testament, but especially to stories about Abraham, came from his travels along these various routes he was taking.
Okay.
So he was exposed to a lot of Christians, a lot of people who would tell the stories, and that his understanding of the Old and New Testament developed out of that, and out of that came the Islamic religion. So you have a religion of submission. There's many religions of submission, but the other thing people don't understand is that this religion of submission itself got very violent. Everybody's politically correct when they talk about this, and really one of the goals of it is jihad, is to take the infidels out and kill them, and build this religion called Islam. So in order to do that, you have to be a part of jihad, and this is where all the radical things come in. But I must note here, a lot of people don't realize that when Muhammad started this religion, exercises are being done by ISIS today, the beheading. That was done at the beginning of this religion. It was convert or die as they went to many of these towns. They would put a sword to the throat, and they were asked to convert or die, and then if not, they took their head off.
So when people say that, the Islam religion didn't have any of these types of things in it, and, we believe in peace only, you're saying that back from that time, that was another way.
Well, all you have to do, Glenn, and now you need to understand, those people who are of the Islamic faith, they say the Quran needs to be read in the original language to understand it.
Okay.
But if you read a translation of the Quran, there's no other conclusion you can come to.
Okay.
Then this is very divisive, and it's a religion that I'm choosing words carefully here. A religion that encourages jihad or getting rid of the infidels, and we've seen several that have come out of that. Now, we go into the Middle East, a place that we've been before. Now, before you were born, when you were a little bitty baby, probably. It might have been before you were born. Our country supported Saddam Hussein because he was battling against Iran. So you have two factions of the Islamic faith that we have to bring in here. There's really three in Iran. You have the Kurds. They're basically in the north. And then you have the Sunnis and the Shiites. Now, before Saddam Hussein let everything go to his head and went to the level that he was at when we took him out, basically what was going on, you had a battle between Sunnis and Shiites. We're getting a little something sent in here on the machine here. The studio's also an office. So you have the Sunnis and Shiites. Now the Shiites have been in after the Gulf Wars, went into lead Iraq, and that's been sort of the problems they've been having. But you need to understand that the Shiites only represent 12 to 15% of all Islamic people. Sunnis represent 85%. So what you had in the Iraqi-Iran war when we were supporting Saddam Hussein was Sunnis and Shiites fighting against one another. And the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, which ISIS stands for, So the ISIS, the term that's being used now, is the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. They were also called ISIL, but after they claimed caliphate, which I'll explain to you in a moment here, they became ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. So the Sunnis and the Shiites basically were fighting in Iraq and Iran. Iran was basically Shiites, and the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria are Sunnis.
You see, so here's my thing. Why in the world, with any religion, okay, is killing other human beings that are innocent people? Why is that? You know, it's a fear. It's a domination. I mean, you know, you're talking about, you know, the Holocaust. You're talking about, you know, the preacher that was in Oklahoma, or was it Texas, that, you know, had that big combine he had put together, and all of those followers believed him, and they all stayed there, and they ended up doing a shootout with the government, and the whole place burned down, and everyone died, and they committed suicide.
Right.
You know, you've got this other gentleman, I can't remember his name, but you know, he got everyone to drink this poison, and all of those people died. So, you know, it's just scary how human beings, you know, and a lot of them are just normal people. They want to believe a pastor. They want to believe someone that is talking about the higher God, and everyone just seems to follow or be brainwashed. I guess it's horrible.
Right.
You know?
I'll take you back where I went this morning with my religion class.
Okay.
We were going over the first commandment: "You shall have no other gods before me." And what I explained to them, that there are really only two religions in the world.
Mm-hmm.
One being Christianity, which is a religion of the gospel. If you go to our early shows, we made a distinction between law and gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Law is what we're to do and not to do. Gospel is what God has done for us in Christ, because we've failed to do what we're to do and not to do. So He's created salvation through the religion of the gospel. That's Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
God makes us right with Him. God brings forgiveness to us. God promises us heaven. All other religions, Glenn, are religions of the law. They're trying to do something to please God, or in the case of some religions, they're trying to get better to be part of God or a God. So basically, what I'm referring to the two religions is the true religion, which is Christianity, and this will get me in trouble with some people today, because
You created a few things that are going to get you in serious trouble, because
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
has. But listen, you know, unfortunately, people have so many different beliefs out there. I mean, it's just the way it
Right.
is, you know. So this is from you. This, you know.
Yeah, this is from me, but the word tolerance. I was in a restaurant the other day, and they had the sticker there, tolerance, with the cross and everything else. The bottom line here is there's one true religion, and that's Christianity. It came out of the Jewish faith from the very beginning, a promise of a Savior, and out of that promised 12 tribes of Israel comes Jesus Christ, both God and man, who fixes up the sin problem. All these other religions are in some way trying to mimic that religion, but all these other religions miss one big thing. God is the only one that can fix our sin problem. All of them are trying to please a God. They're trying to make things better by doing something for God. And we have the same thing here with the Islamic faith. This is a submission that is going on, a pleasing that's trying to go on. And like you said earlier, where are they going to hope to end up? They hope to end up with 70 virgins in heaven, or what they understand as heaven. Now, Muhammad took all of this stuff. He borrowed a lot of it from Christianity, from the Old and New Testament. But what we have in ISIS also is the big thing that happened back, I think it might have been August or September. They claimed a caliphate. Now, remember you said their name changes all the time. Some people call them ISIL. Some people call them ISIS. ISIS became
Islamic faith.
Right. ISIS came when they claimed the caliphate. And that's when they became the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. And what happened is after Muhammad died, there were 4 successors or caliphs that followed Muhammad Abu Bakr was the first one. He worked under Muhammad. And then there were three others. The last one, the fourth one, was a son-in-law and cousin. But in 1923 and 1924, after the Second World War, the caliphate was abolished by Ataturk in Turkey. Now, he got in a lot of trouble for this because he was secularizing the government there in Turkey. And a lot of Islamic people really, really abhorred him for doing that. And what a caliphate is the claim of being a successor or a caliph. So al-Baghdadi, who's the name you hear in ISIS as the leader, wants to be the new caliphate. Now, what does he do? His job is to reenact Muhammad's life. So the stuff you're talking about here is not only the shootings of Christians, he's crucifying Christians, and they're also beheading Christians.
Yeah.
Remember I told you
horrible.
early on in the Islamic faith, they would go to towns, put a sword to people's necks, convert or die.
So this is what they're doing, and they're stealing. They're stealing money. They're stealing oil.
Right.
They're doing whatever they can to keep building this. And
They have a tremendous amount of money.
how are we going? What is there an end in sight here? I don't see an end in sight. I mean, how are we going to get ourselves out of the situation? How can we bring diplomacy to some of these countries? I mean, we've got Iran, we've got major issues with them.
Well,
North Korea, we've got Russia. It seems like everyone has their own beliefs.
well, let's take a look at the Middle East first.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Which is the most important. That's the one
right.
that's really
in order to have
affecting us now.
Right. In order to have a caliphate, in order for al-Baghdadi to be successful here, he has to take in Egypt. He's got to take in all these other Islamic countries, including Turkey. Turkey would be the hardest because Turkey has outlawed having a caliphate. But he would have to bring them all together really to be successful, because when you claim to be the caliph or you claim caliphate, that means you are the leader of all people.
Okay.
So al-Baghdadi has to get an acceptance of that in the Middle East of all these other Muslim states, including Egypt. Turkey is the least likely to help out. And then you have this Shiite Sunni thing. And so Iran, ironically, is really on our side in this thing, because they are not Shiites, or excuse me, they are not Sunnis like you have in ISIS. They're Shiites, and the Shiites are just went out of power in Iraq, and they're trying to get sort of a more mixed government in the midst of all this. ISIS has come in, they're bombing, they're going through and killing, they're intimidating. But you mentioned something here that's very important. Number one, when we look at the commandment, you shall not kill, it's really you shall not murder. There's a distinction between killing and murder. Okay? Killing sometimes is justified by God in his judgment. So in the Old Testament, you'll see where he made judgments upon peoples, and he ordered them to be killed. Okay? That would not be murder. God is the judge of all people. He can judge whether they're good or bad, whether they're going to be saved or not. And in fact, remember King Saul was previous to David. He lost his kingship because he didn't listen to God when he told him to kill all the Amorites. He kept some of the women and the livestock for himself, and as a result, David became king later on. So there needs to be that distinction. The other thing to remember takes us all the way back to Genesis chapter 3. There was no death in this world until after mankind sinned. Sin was brought into this world not by God. Sin was brought in this world by Adam and Eve, who decided to disobey God. Sin is lawlessness. And what you're describing here about all these killings and the sadness of everything,
All this horrible stuff is lawlessness.
Right. This is lawlessness. Now, I didn't have a Bible in my car. I just cleaned out my car, and I couldn't bring
You
it.
didn't have a Bible in your car?
Well, I do
Oh,
because I have my pad here, but your Wi-Fi is protected, so
oh, that's funny.
so I can't get into Wi-Fi. But I wanted to bring up Romans chapter 3, but you can read this for yourself at home.
Okay.
Romans chapter 3, 9 and following, and there is a description of who we were before we came to Christ, and what it describes there is something awful. Haters of God, just what you see in ISIS, what you see in all the evil that's going on around the world is described there in Romans chapter 3.
Wow.
But what are we reminded of in Romans 2? The victory has already been won. As you see these things going around you, you need to remember a victory was already won many, many years ago when our Savior Jesus Christ overcame sin, death, and the devil by dying on the cross. And the seal of that proper sacrifice for sin was given by God the Father by allowing him on the third day to rise again. Mm-hmm. And that rising again reminds us that because Christ lives, we shall live also. And what the whole plan of God is here is to take us back to the starting point. He's going to take us back to heaven with him, back to the way it originally was in the Garden of Eden. No sin. Everything we had access to. A beautiful relationship of man and woman submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. Just a beautiful picture of where we're going is where we've been, back to the starting point. And God has already taken care of all of this. As you see these things go on around you, you can read the Bible, you can read some of the stuff that goes on in the prophecies, and it says, this stuff's going to happen. And as long as people don't have God, there's going to be some that'll be civilly nice, but there's going to be a lot others who, out of false religions and everything else, and some out of despair, as we've seen this young man in Washington killing some of his actual relatives at school. We see that death is still a part of this world. That's the other thing we need to remember. This world is dying. In the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. After they sinned by disobeying God, death came into this world. And the deterioration we see around us is a result of sin. Mm-hmm. But sin has already been conquered in Jesus Christ. So it's already done, Glenn.
Yeah, interesting.
It's just while we're here, we live in the now, but not yet. There's an old hymn, I am but a stranger here, heaven is my home. So while we're a stranger here, we may have to go through some bad things. There's Christians over there that died for their faith.
Yeah, I mean, they died for their faith, and, all I can do, or all we can do as Christians is just pray that things change, pray that things get better, and, focus on our own lives, our own families here, and just try to be the best people we can be and take care of our families. But Pastor, I tell you what, I know we're at our limit
Right.
here, but I really, really appreciate you breaking all of this down.
Well, you made me do some work, pal.
Well, I needed to. I feel this is a subject that
Yeah.
a lot of people out there.
Well, on Facebook, there were some responses. Can't wait to hear what you have to hear. Now, let me remind you of a couple of things. Number one, I did a podcast with Richard Thompson, the prosecuting attorney of Oakland County, who was trying to convict Jack Kevorkian for assisted suicide. He is now with the Thomas More Law Center. He's the lead counsel, doing a lot of stuff in federal courts for Christian liberty. I did a show with him, which we're going to release after this show.
Okay.
And then he wants to do 2 other shows with me, and I think the next one, on the basis of this, he wanted to do a show on Islam. Because as he is representing Christians in the court system, he is finding out that there is a lot of things happening in Islam in this country to try to squelch Christianity. So we'll see
Wow,
we'll see
serious.
what he has to offer when I do that interview with him, Richard Thompson. But also, I want to remind everybody that you can communicate with us if you go to facebook.com/2bigguys, and also to Emmanuel Lutheran Church's webpage, godsoloved.org. go down to the Two Big Guys icon there. You can see our picture there standing next to a big building. Press that and you can see all of our shows. The new
Absolutely.
show is always the one on the top left. A nice setup that goes to our YouTube channel. And this show will be the Reformation show. And we'll get that out as soon as we can, probably on Friday, which is Reformation Day, as well as some people are going to go out and look for candy. Once again, facebook.com / Two Big Guys. Let us know what you think. Give us feedback. And always looking for ideas for new shows.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Pastor. Everybody have a blessed weekend.